All right, great. Let's go ahead and get started. I'm assuming everybody can see my screen. I think that's something that we've all probably asked each other a number of times over the last 14, 15 months. But nonetheless, here we are. HubSpot has rolled out these new HubSpot user groups are called skill hugs that are based around a specific skill that a lot of marketers who use HubSpot adapted, right? So this one is all about content marketing. And we're going to dive into this in a second, but this is our inaugural first event. We're really excited about it. We have over 100 people have RSVP'd, and just looking through the list in the chat, we've got people attending from all over the world. Most in North America and the U.S. We got some people from Mexico. We also have a few people from the U.K. Amanda just popped in, and somebody from India, which is fantastic. So really excited to see. Belgium too. Quite the diverse group of people here. So as you're jumping in, please in the chat shout out where you're calling in from. This is a skills hug. It's not, although we are the content marketing hub for North America, we're not exclusive to just people in North America. So anybody is welcome to join this hug. All right, this is our agenda for today. We're going to go over a brief welcome. We're going to do some introductions real quick. Then we're going to have a HubSpot update. All of these hugs are going to have just a touch on some the HubSpot universe. It just makes it a little easier for us to all be on the same page about new products that have rolled out. Every once in a while, we may have a guest from HubSpot join us to talk about those as well too. So we're pretty excited about that. Great. More people jumping in. Mexico City, North Carolina. Again, I appreciate everybody. I know that we're running a couple minutes behind, but this new Bevy platform, we all have to get used to a little bit. I think we probably all know Google Meet and Zoom very well, or Microsoft Teams, but now we're all we're all learning something new. So I appreciate everybody attending. All right, moving on. We're in the onto our welcome. So, like I said, this is the inaugural content marketing HubSpot user group. This is very exciting for us. Our vision is to build a vibrant community of content creators that use the HubSpot ecosystem to produce entertaining, educational, and engaging content. So, very excited about this group. Our goals are to first and foremost to network with other content creators across North America and the world. Of course, like I said, if you're not in North America, perfectly fine. All are welcome. HubSpot just wouldn't let us pick a worldwide skills hug. They made us signify an area of the world. So you're welcome to join from anywhere, of course. Our next goal is to grow, right? Our content marketing skills through thought-provoking discussion, right? We're going to have some chats. We're going to talk through some of these pieces, and I hope that the conversation continues offline. We have a few options for that as well for all of you, for us to build kind of this network and grow together. And lastly, we want to advance our careers internally and externally. What do I mean by that? We want to be able to provide skills to everybody in this group and feed off of one another so that we can all grow within our careers specifically, whether that's we want to grow within our current job and our role and get more responsibilities, or just have a better quality of life, whatever growth means in advancement for you in your career. And then also externally, right? Like if you're looking, to make a move, if you're looking for a new change, we should be able to help people along their career paths in content marketing. So that's our goal. Great. Yes, I can make full screen. Give me 1 second here, guys. That's what I love about the chat. We can do things in real time. Boom, there we go. So now you can probably see a little bit better, huh? All right, great. Thank you for that suggestion, Beth. All right, so who's this guy who's speaking at me through my computer, right? So I'm David J Ebner. I'm president of Content Workshop. I'm the author of a book called Kingmakers, a Content Marketing Story. So just a little background of me. I am a classically trained writer first and foremost. I went to school and spent a lot of time and money learning how to become a writer. And then, of course, I decided to apply that writing in a commercial sense in a career in copywriting. And then slowly over time, grew that career into starting Content Workshop about I think 9 or 10 years ago now. We're a content marketing agency that works mostly in the tech industry, and we help small marketing teams generate leads using content. That's all we do. We're also avid HubSpot users, have been for years. We're a HubSpot partner agency, which is great. But we're here to talk about content marketing first and foremost. HubSpot is just a little bit of the glue that holds us together as an organization. And like I said, I wrote a book called Kingmakers, or Content Marketing Story. After this event is over, for everybody who joins our chapter in HubSpot, as well as our LinkedIn group, I'm going to send you a digital copy of that book for free, just so more people can read it and we can start a dialogue and discussion about it. Also, we have Riley Manning. Riley's in the background. He is on this discussion. Due to technical difficulties, we can't both be on at the same time that we're having, but I'll go ahead and introduce Riley to all of you. He is our operations director at Content Workshop. I've known Riley for a number of years. We went to graduate school together, actually, and he runs kind of like the operations, right, of our organization, and he helps fix things for me when I inevitably break them. As all good leaders of companies, it's my job to just get the heck out of the way and let Riley do the good work. So he's there in the chat. Riley's also going to be manning the Q&A. You should see that Q&A is live in your Bevy platform here. There's the chat button, and then you have general chat or Q&A. You can ask questions there, and we'll go ahead and try to answer those as time goes on. We may have to pause and jump back into them. You also have the ability to direct message people. So in there, you can message people directly. Attendees tab the top right there, and you can pick somebody to message directly as well. I will say that as I'm running through this presentation, I'm terrible at multitasking. So I'm not, if you direct message me during the presentation, I'm probably not going to get to it to the end. But anyway, feel free to do that if you'd like. So that's just a little bit about us. All right, so here's my ask to you. Please, please, please join our chapter in HubSpot, right? This chapter is where we launch all of our events from. We have some new ones coming up. We already have a couple more in the docket. And we want to make sure that you know about them and you're able to just get the latest alerts, right? So this presentation and hug meeting had a cap of 100 people to attend, and we reached that cap like 5 days ago. So that actually caused to have to open up more spots, and it caused a little bit of a problem. But if you're a member of the organization, of the chapter, that's not going to be an issue for you. So please, I put the link in the chat. Thanks, Steve, for the recommendation. Click that link, join our chapter, as many of you have already done. All right. So a bit of our HubSpot update. These are some things that you guys can easily research more if you'd like. I just wanted to give a big, a 30,000 foot overview of what's happening in HubSpot right now. So as most of you should know, if you haven't already found out, HubSpot has launched this Operations Hub, which in theory, from everybody I talk with at HubSpot, it's designed to replace the need for third-party integration tools like Zapier and different tools like that. It's actually the underpinnings are from a company called PieSync that they acquired years ago, and they used to sell that as a separate solution, and now they've kind of rolled it into their own hub. With the Operations Hub, they have a starter and pro package like most of their other items. Starter, you can do some custom object syncing. Without Starter, you can still integrate a lot of tools with just the basic free version of Operation Hub. But nonetheless, if you want to do some custom object syncing or add some custom code for syncing, you can upgrade to Starter or Pro. If you're interested in learning more about that, I suggest to go to HubSpot's website and hit them up in the chat functionality. Or if you're a HubSpot partner or company and you use HubSpot today, feel free to talk to your rep at HubSpot. Marketing Hub has moved some things around. I don't know if you all have noticed this, but the strategy section, SEO section, calendar, and projects have all moved to various locations. They're still under the marketing tab, but as you go in there, take a look around what that tab looks like today. They released a new update not long ago. I can't pinpoint the exact date. I just noticed that it changed all of a sudden. And they do have a lot of information about where those have moved to. They all still exist. They're just being used in different capacities today. CMS Hub has had some updates as well too. If you host your website with HubSpot, they've added site trees and some more smart content so that you can personalize content based on who's actually viewing it. Reports and analytics have updated as well too. They now have these complex attribution models. I don't know if you've played around with these at all, but they can. It's like a beautiful mind, a wormhole of different activities that you can dive into. But they've added this deal creation as an attribution, as part of attribution, so you can actually see the movement of the content that you've created and how it's effectively caused people to become deals specifically, which is pretty cool. Finally, plan on attending Inbound virtually this year. They have free tickets available already. I'm going to find real quick while we're talking here. But yeah, you can attend for free, and then you can. The costs are very small to upgrade to the more advanced sessions. And I'm going to just, of course, it's inbound.com. Smart of them to acquire that URL. Let's drop that in the chat. Feel free to take a look at that. Lots of great education, ways to advance your skills at Inbound. Cool. All right. So to the content of the day, right? Today we're going to chat about 4 pillars of content that converts. Now, you might recognize it's not the 4 pillars because there are many more than 4. But frankly, as we were planning this session and mapping things out, we just picked this number and shot at it, right? So what I want to know from you is, as we go through this, are what are the other pillars of content that converts? Like, what causes content to convert? Shoot them out in the chat if you have ideas on that. You can DM them to me. What we're trying to do is really kind of build out some programming too. So if you know of some that I'm not mentioning, feel free to throw them. They exist. Right. So the first one we're going to cover is that items are optimized for search. Then we're going to talk about entertaining and educational content that's tilted toward engagement. Value attention alignment. You guys might really enjoy these charts that we've developed over that area. And again, if you can think of some more, feel free to drop them in the chat. Oh, hey, Bonnie, I see you already got your ticket to Inbound. Fantastic. I bought mine the other day. All right, the first pillar is that content is optimized for search. This is going to seem like a no-brainer to many of you, but you'd be surprised. You know, Riley and I work with a lot of companies, B2B companies, software companies that are producing a ton of great content, but it's not optimized for search. Not because they didn't want to optimize it for search, but they just didn't realize the importance of that or know how to do it. So almost all content should be optimized for search, and we'll talk about that a little bit more too. So today, 68% of all trackable traffic comes from search engines. 68%, by far the largest referral source to your website today is going to be a search engine, particularly Google. But you know, let's keep it pretty broad today, right? It's a lot. And it's only growing, believe it or not. It's not going down. You'd think that over time people would find different methods, or other competitors would pop in that would replace search, maybe social or other aspects, but they're not. Search is still the primary way traffic gets to websites. All of this data too, over the next few slides, are from our friends at Bridge Edge. They build a report every year that kind of goes through all this information. There are very few reasons to create content that isn't optimized for search engines. If you can think of any of those reasons, I want to hear them in the chat. I want to know if you have reasons for people to not optimize their content. I can think of a couple myself, but I'd love to broaden my horizons and our horizons on what those could be. For example, I can think of maybe some content that's used as a sales enablement tool only, that you don't want available to the general public. You wouldn't want that optimized for search for some reason. But my question would be, okay, let's dive into that, right? Why do you not want the general public to know what this valuable piece of content is and how it helps people? So feel free to, if you got some ideas on that front, throw them in the chat. There are very few reasons, especially in a demand generation, lead generation world, to not optimize items for search. So that's something we should think about every time we develop a piece of content. Okay, so a little bit more about how search affects content, right? So again, the role is only growing for search engines in converting content. You can see these two verticals specifically. I've drawn out. A lot of you probably work in retail and e-commerce and media and some other aspects of operations, but most of us probably work in B2B or in the technology space. And yes, you can see here the propensity for people to come in through organic traffic to your site and convert is higher than a lot of other verticals. Every other vertical, definitely, it has the lion's share of traffic coming to your site. It's really interesting to see on this slide here too. When you look at B2B and technology, there's a deficit in paid search being an avenue of success. It looks like organic is feeding, pulling away the market share from paid search, which is very interesting. For these verticals. Social is low. And then there's other bucket, right? Like other bucket that can't be tracked effectively, or we don't know what it is, or it's everything else other than search and social. They put into that bucket, right? I found this very interesting. All right, we have this saying here, and if you join our groups and get a copy of my book, you're gonna hear it there too. But we have this saying that love is a verb and so is SEO. I hope most of you have heard this saying that love is a verb, right? Which essentially just means it's a habit, it's an activity, it's moving, it's constantly evolving, it's a thing that you have to work on. It's not a toggle switch, right? And neither is SEO. SEO is not a toggle switch. You don't just go in the back end of a website and oh, they didn't have SEO turned on. Let me turn on this thing in WordPress or HubSpot now. And now we have, content that ranks organically. Not the case. SEO is a behavior. SEO is looking at every piece of content that you create and asking yourselves, is this reaching the technical of search engine optimization? And also, is it reaching the human benchmarks, right? Content converts when people, when people engage in it, when people click on it, when people read it. They don't when they have to fish around, or the writing is terrible and there's not a lot of CTAs in there, right? So anyway, love is a verb and so is SEO. So I apologize. They're doing some construction at my office. So if you hear some banging, I'm perfectly safe in my little cube here, but they're building out on the other side of the building here. So the second pillar is entertaining and educational. What do we mean by that? So we have this other saying that the 3 E's of content, right? All content should be entertaining, educational, and engaging. And we believe it should be in that order. Now, this has caused some debate over time with our team, with our clients, but we do believe in the behavior of content, right? And we really think that if your content can be entertaining first and foremost, educational secondarily, and then engaging, it's going to convert people. So let's dive into each of those just a little bit here. Entertaining, right? Really, content has to meet your audience where they are mentally, right? Like what's their headspace right now? That's where you have to meet people with content. Content that's entertaining is going to get higher consumption. It's just that simple, right? People want to read, people want to watch, people want to consume content that provides an entertaining value to them. And that's different for everybody, certainly. But most people, when they consume content, they go through these 4 steps that I've got in the second bullet there. They see an image, that image attracts them, right? They come into whatever that image is and read a preview or watch a preview of whatever that content is. Then they scan very typically, right? Then they decide if they want to consume. So people have to go through these steps of consuming content to inevitably convert, but you have to get them at each one of those stages. And entertainment is a factor in that, certainly. And also, this is really interesting as a concept. I'm sure you've heard this before, that people have shorter attention spans than ever. However, if you're anything like me over the last 14 months, you've learned what it's like to binge, right? We've binge content all the time. You can't tell me simultaneously that attention spans are shorter than ever, plus people are also have a higher penchant to binge content. But that's true, right? Those two things actually exist and coexist together. We have short attention spans for things that are not entertaining to us. Very short attention spans. However, if something's entertaining, we will binge all day long on those items. So something to think about when you're developing your content. Okay, great. So educational. So Content's first goal is to help. Plain and simple. Your content should be helping somebody, right? If it's not helping them, whatever those trailing goals are, the other things you want to accomplish with your content are somewhat irrelevant, right? You might accomplish a little bit of it by happenstance, but most likely you're not going to. If you're not helping people, why would they want a demo? Why would they want to buy your solution? Why would they want to talk to a sales rep on the phone or schedule a meeting? They don't see you as helpful, right? So that's the first goal. And educating people, providing answers to their questions, it's an easy way to help them. And content does that really well. You want your audience to leave your content having learned something new, right? Or reinforced a questioned belief. What do I mean by that? How often do you think something is true or believe something, but want to reinforce that a little bit? So you search about it, right? I think it makes a lot of sense in my gut that we need to move to a project management system and stop using Google Sheets, right? I feel that it sounds right. People have told me, I've seen things, but let me research that a little bit. Okay, all right, it's true. Obviously, this tool over here is fantastic for converting us from Google Sheets to a project management system. That's what I mean by reinforcing question beliefs, right? And then this builds thought leadership, right? Trust and value, all pieces that are the cornerstone to selling something to somebody, right? We have to have, they have to see us as a leader. We have some authority on the matter. They trust what we say, and what we say is providing them value. So that's really what we mean by creating content that's entertaining and educational. Easier said than done. I realize that. Many of you are like, that's great, David, but like, let's get some tactical information. Right now, we're just talking philosophically, but things for you to think about. Put these in your mind when you're ideating your next piece of content, whether that's a blog or an ebook or a case study or just a page on the website. When you ideate that, think about how is it educational? How is it entertaining? And this is how we move people through the funnel. I know how this fly, which is actually correct, right? We have to think about how marketing affects all aspects of the customer journey and life cycle, not just the front end. And then we push them to sales. They're no longer part of our universe, right? But really, it still is a funnel to some degree, right? So we've got this idea that we want to move people essentially from taking our advice to buying our solution, right? That's really the most basic function of what we want to do when marketing to people. We want them to take our advice, and then we want them to buy our solution, right? And we do that through three major stages, and we use content to move people through those stages. That's awareness, consideration, and decision, right? Awareness that they have a problem, considering that they can solve it using various tools, and then deciding on which tool is the best tool for them. Awareness stage may contain blog content, right? Consideration stage may be an ebook, it may be a white paper. Decision stage may be a case study. Why pick your company over XYZ company, right? And then, of course, all of those map very nicely to the life cycle stages of a marketing contact and a sales contact, right? Everything from visit down to customer. All right. I saw we had a question. I'm going to pop over there and take a look. Chloe had said it might be a little bit off topic, but she'd love to know my view on content to gate versus not gate. How much content should we gate? Great question. That's a fantastic question. I'm going to save that. Well, Riley just answered it in long form. So there you go. You've got your answer, Chloe. Riley and I talk about this all the time. So there you go with your answer. All right. Thanks, Riley. Saving me time, man. Just doing all the great work behind the scenes. I love it. All right. So question or pillar 3, right? Content needs to be tilted toward engagement. Well, what the heck do I mean by that? It's a good question. Let's find out on the next slide together. So engagement is driven by intent. Engagement is the end goal of all content, really. I mean, inevitably, you want the person who reads it to buy, right? To buy something or subscribe or whatever it may be, right? There's some sort of purchasing action that you want to happen inevitably, but that can't happen without some level of engagement, right? So content needs to be designed to engage, which inevitably is like them clicking a button. It's an action. It's a KPI, right? That's what we're talking about with engagement, right? So the likelihood that a piece of content will engage your audience is greatly increased if you architect the path of engagement. If you leave it to happenstance, it's less likely it's going to happen. It's greatly increased if you sit down and say, hey, what is the path to engagement for somebody who reads this blog or ebook or case study or watches our webinar, whatever it may be? What is the path for them to get to the next step, the next thing we want them to do? And then you need to be intentional about moving people through that path. There might be other pieces of content that get them from content piece one to, the end path where you want them to go, right? So a great example is a blog that has a CTA for a related ebook in it, right? Or a case study that has a personalized demo link, right? So with HubSpot and other tools, there are a lot of ways you can personalize content. So on a page, you can quite literally call out somebody's name. You can quite literally talk about the company that they're at and get a personalized demo link for them, right? So anyway, that's a good way to drive engagement by intention. So every piece of content needs to have a job and a goal. Another saying Riley's probably tired of hearing me say, right? And people who've worked with me over years, every piece of content needs a job and a goal. So write down on a piece of paper, or right, you can write it digitally. You don't have to use a piece of paper. What a piece of content is designed to offer your organization. Then give it a goal around that job, right? Like, and be honest about it. The job of a piece of content may just be to engage a person for 5 minutes or 2 minutes or 1 minute of a target audience. That's okay, right? But know how that maps to what your greater goals are and your KPIs, right? So let's say, for example, this blog is designed to increase our search engine results page ranking on XYZ keyword, right? It's our goal to rank on the first page for that keyword. That's it, right? That's the great way to give a piece of content a job, and then put a goal around that so you can measure it, right? You work in marketing, particularly content marketing or marketing more broadly, in the depth campaign is its success, right? And those success metrics be tied back to revenue for the company. That's typically how most marketing. So give it a job, give it a goal. And then that success needs to be measurable. Look at me jumping ahead of myself, right? So the lack of a measurable result is a killer. As I just mentioned, HubSpot is uniquely positioned to help you measure both macro and micro results. Google Analytics is also great, but more for a macro level of results. So if you're already a HubSpot user, fantastic. You have tools to your disposal to measure these things, If you're not, Google Analytics free tool, right, can help you measure this on a macro level. Let's talk a little bit what I mean by micro versus macro. So here's two macro reports. You guys have seen these before using HubSpot and Google Analytics, right? You've got, here we're measuring some sessions, a few pieces along the path. But in HubSpot on the left, that's what their macro reports look like. Swaths of traffic, right? Groups of people, number of conversions, people moving through the path. That's great. And Google Analytics shows similar data. I had to whitewash a little bit of the report there, so my client's data wasn't visible to you, sensitive data that is. But nonetheless, that's kind of what those reports show. That's macro, right? Groups of people in motion, and that's great reporting, right? You can report on a lot of the success you have just using those macro movements. However, HubSpot allows you the ability to measure this on a micro level too. What I mean by that is it dive down deeper into specific paths to engagement, right? This helps you build attribution models. It helps you build, the likelihood certain types of content can move people down a conversion path. But essentially, why this works really well with HubSpot and other marketing automation tools, again, not just HubSpot here, but it overlays a database on top of your analytics, right? So it doesn't just tell you the groups of people and the number of people. It tells you the precise people, their names, where they are on the life cycle stage, all that data, conversion dates, things like that, all tied to a contact record, gives you the ability to run like massive reports on seeing how your content converts people and adds to the bottom line. You can see here again, I had to whitewash this screenshot, but there's clients contact names here, the event name for their conversion, all that kind of stuff. This is just from clicking driving down into that report, the macro report. So anyway, it's great for measuring these things on a micro level, which can help influence future success, right? We all want to know, what the heck was it about XYZ campaign that caused people to convert? This is kind of how you do it, right? So that's what we mean by tilted toward conversion. Finally, the last pillar we're going to talk about today, not the only remaining pillar of content that converts, but the value attention alignment. This is something that Riley and I use for our clients every day to explain the value of content and kind of where content fits on a scale. So attention, it's the most valuable asset your target audience possesses and the one thing you want to take from them. Think about that for just a second. Your goal as a content marketer is to take time from people, their attention and time, right? How they spend their time and what they spend their time on. You want that from them. And it's the most valuable resource they have. It's non-renewable. They only have a limited amount of it. They have no idea how much it is. Can you imagine if somebody gave you they gave you some money and they said, here's some money. It's all you're going to get for the rest of your life. We're not going to tell you exactly how much it is, but spend it wisely. That's what we're asking people to do when we want them to give us their attention. So I think it's important that we realize that and that we recognize the importance of what we're asking of our audience and we meet them where they're at. So the value attention alignment spectrum, we pulled this from our friends over at Cerebral Selling. They have this metric. It's mostly designed around selling, but we've adapted it for content purposes. And really kind of similar things, right? Helping is selling, right? That's the saying that we have, right? So everything has a certain amount of attention that's required for its consumption and has a perceived value. And we want to find content that fits the right point on this scale, given where the audience is currently. There's a few places you just never want to go. If you've studied the 7 habits of high quadrants, right, and all, and it's kind of works that way. Marina, I see your comment here. The second pillar, I'm gonna have to rely on Riley to shoot that over to you. And yes, screen time is extremely valuable commodity today. That's essentially what we're asking people to give us, right? All right. So here's kind of what we see from a lot of companies is they spend a lot of time on content that has a high attention required to consume and low perceived value. People want to produce this long form piece of content or something that takes a long time to read or consume or whatever it may be, but actually doesn't have perceived value by the viewer, and it causes people to not consume that piece of content, right? So that's where things get lost in the mix. And then, of course, the people who are game changers that are seeing great movement are providing a lot of perceived value with a low attention required. So that's really where we want to get as much content over here. There is value in being in the top right. Yeah, you can see my mouse. Great. This top right section here too. We'll talk about that some more. So we've got 4 different buckets that our friends at Cerebral Selling gave us for these areas. We've got the sea of sameness, the top left corner. Innovative minority is the bottom left corner, right? Items that have a low attention required but low perceived value. Virtuous, which I kind of enjoy. In the top right corner, it's high attention required but high value. And then game changers are low attention, high value, right? Again, I want to spend as much time in that game changers bucket as possible. And we went ahead and took the types of content that we typically produce for a lot of our clients and our friends produce, and we've grabbed it and put it on this spectrum. This is subjective. This is how I feel about it and how Riley feels about it. And that might not be how you feel about it. So happy to have that discussion in more detail when the time is right. You can see at the bottom, we have a blog. A blog it can have a lot of perceived value. And it doesn't take a lot of attention to consume it, right? Like you can scan, if it's built right, you can probably scan a piece of content very fast. That doesn't mean that you've lost if somebody doesn't spend 5 minutes on your page. If they got what they wanted to, then that's fantastic, right? Secondarily, we have podcasts on there, a little bit more perceived value slightly, but definitely more attention required. You're going to say, David, I listen to podcasts in the background while I'm cooking dinner. That's true, right? You can have them on the background, but if you're really trying to learn something from it, you're going to spend a little bit more attention on that than you will scanning a blog per se. This is, again, somewhat debatable. So happy to have that discussion with you. Video content, it's got not quite as much perceived value and a little bit more attention required to consume. Again, you're going to say, David, I turn the news on in the background or whatever people do these days, right? I do this in the background when it's on. But yeah, but if you're consuming it for knowledge, for entertainment, education, and engagement, you're going to spend more attention on it than you would otherwise, right? We have case studies and ebooks. Again, more attention required, even more, but again, some a good amount of perceived value for people. White papers are up there too. Webinars, for somebody to give value, to not have it on the background, they require a lot of attention. You are all on a webinar right now, right? Like if you're paying attention to this, I'm consuming just about every ounce of attention that you have. You might be doing something in the background, but again, that's based on how much of it you want to consume, right? And they have a very high perceived value, right? We all think we're going to learn something new that's going to help us, and I hope this chat also does that for you, right? But high perceived value. All right, great. So now we have some time for questions. Riley did a great job and answered the question that we had already in the sidebar there. If you have more questions, feel free to drop them there. You're welcome to just shoot them over in the chat too. We'll monitor that as well. But on the questions tab, again, chat, you go down, you've got general and Q&A. Under Q&A, you can put in a question there. And I'm going to go ahead and mark Chloe's as answered. Thank you so much for that. But yeah, if you've got any questions, feel free to toss them in there. We're going to keep monitoring this as we come to the close here. So, anytime you can ask a question. All right, we've got a few more things to touch on while I've got your undivided attention, right? Great. So for other hub topics, right? So we've got the next few lined up already, but we want to hear from you. So you can drop them in the chat, or you look for a follow-up email. We're going to send out an email asking this question. What do you guys want to hear about? What is a good topic for a hug? Let's start having that dialogue and start moving that forward. A lot of places you can get to us, which we'll get to in a second, but look for an email or drop them in the chat. We can talk about, content touches just everything. So there's a lot on the docket already. And we want to make sure though, that you can contribute to what we talk about during these hug meetings. All right, so two groups to join. I think I've already pulled this away, but you've got the HubSpot chapter, which is in the chat. Let me go ahead and drop that in there again. Grab that. But please join our HubSpot chapter. That's going to help us, whoops. Did I drop it in there? Yes, I did. Okay. It's going to help us get more guest speakers, but also get you guys frontline access to when we have more of these hug events, and you can get in faster and not have to go through the wait list. And I know that was difficult for a lot of people. So please join our HubSpot chapter. And then we also have a LinkedIn group that I'd love for you guys to join if you get the chance. Let me pull that over here, and I'll drop it in the chat as well too. But you can join our LinkedIn group. It's available for anybody to join. It's not HubSpot specific, right? You don't have to use HubSpot to join our LinkedIn group. We're just going to talk about content marketing. Again, it's focused around North America, but anybody can attend, right? Most of the conversation is going to be in English, but you're welcome to add. We actually have a few members of our team that are Spanish speakers too. So we can dive into that a little bit deeper as well. So here I'm going to drop it in chat for our LinkedIn group. Feel free to, I think you have to request to join, but I'm the moderator, so I'll let you all in because you're all great people. I see we got a comment here, new innovative ways to measure and tell stories with metrics learned. Ooh, I love that. Making sense of the meters and measures of content. That's a fantastic idea. Riley, jot that down. We'll definitely be using that as an idea for a future hug. It's fantastic. Thank you for that. All right. Well, we got another hug meeting to share with you. The next hug meeting is going to be on June 29th at 1 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. That's the time zone that I find myself in Clearwater, Florida. But nonetheless, you can adapt that for your local time. But that's going to be our next meeting, and we're going to cover using message maps to persuade your audience. This is kind of the piece of content that is missing from personas, right? Like people develop personas all day long. I know Rand Fishkin recently posted on LinkedIn that personas are dead. And I had about a heart attack. I'm like, oh my God, we sell personas to people all day long. But in theory, he's right, because people don't use personas effectively. And the message map is what allows you to move to using those personas in a meaningful way. So I'm going to drop that event in the chat as well. You can register right now. It's open. It just opened up during this meeting. So we were smart and timed that well. All right. So boom. Andres says the right now reworking client personas. Fantastic. That's going to be helpful. Message maps. Yep. Riley and I are big fans of message maps. Anyway, we'll talk about it more. We're actually going to share a template too that we use for message maps for our company. You guys feel free to steal it, use it for yourself, use it internally, use it externally. We're here to help however we can. So there's going to be a lot available there. So yeah, please RSVP. I did open up that event to more people. We were originally scheduled for just 100 people allowed in here, and I was able to open it up. So we have the next hug meeting was opened up to 200 people. So that should help us there. Hopefully we have so many people want to be a part of this that we have to keep moving down that path and adding more people. But for now, that shouldn't be a problem. For all of those of you that are waitlisted, that shouldn't be a problem in the future. Thanks. And that's all the content we have for you today. We did it in less than an hour, give you back some time in your day. I always feel good when I undercut the time. That's not typically how I do. So feel free to, if you want to chat with me, you can email me, david@ebner.marketing. Let me toss that in here. At ebner.marketing. No. Oops, I missed my own email address. That's great. I'll re-add it then. Sorry about that, everybody. David@ebner.marketing. You can also connect with me on LinkedIn. I advise you do that. Just search David J Ebner. People ask me all the time, why David J Ebner? And I keep saying the J is silent because it's easier to find me when we have when you throw the J in there. Alicia, great message about the NPS link. Don't have that at my disposal right now. Oh, that's a great message. So thank you for that, Alicia. I'll go ahead and email that out afterwards. Oh, thank you. Hey, you're great. I like Alicia a lot. Thanks for joining, Alicia, and helping. Helping out. Yeah, go team. Love it. All right. Well, that's everything for you today. Thanks again. Email us, message us. Let's continue this conversation. We'll see you on June 29th. Thanks, everybody.